to the show. We're having a few challenges with that bauxite mining story. We'll put it all together and bring it to you in a bit. Right now, the Member of Parliament for Asin South, Reverend John Intimfojo, has called on his colleagues in Parliament to strongly resist any external pressure that seeks to push for the legalization of homosexuality in the country. The MP says he has received information suggesting some 8 Ghanaian men in Canada intend to petition the Canadian authorities to use its diplomatic clout to promote legalization of homosexuality in Ghana. He's been describing the action of the group as demonic, and he says although the world is evolving, it is important for Ghanaians to safeguard the values and morals that fundamentally define their identity and existence.
In the constitutional framework of Ghana, not only are the practices of homosexuality, lesbianism, and bestiality unedifying, they are fundamentally unlawful. Whereas it is an undeniable fact that we live in a world, a society that keeps evolving, it is of utmost importance that we as a people and a nation do everything possible to safeguard the values and morals that fundamentally define and determine our identity and existence. That some jurisdictions recognize certain way of life as acceptable standard, however obscene and immoral they might be, does not make it acceptable in another jurisdiction. Globalization is purposed to augment the strengths and values of nation states, certainly not meant to compromise the cultural and moral values therein. I hereby, openly and unequivocally declare my firm position against the views of the members of an advocacy group who on Thursday, August 17, 2017, sought to canvass support from certain powerful persons and institutions in Canada to put pressure on Ghana to decriminalize homosexuality.
That is Member of Parliament for Asin South, Reverend John Intimfojo. He joins me in the studio so we can get a bit more of his arguments. So you're welcome to the show.
Thank you, Gifty.
Okay, now let me find out from you, first of all, how credible this information is.
Well, this information was viral on social media the whole of last Friday. But foremost, I'm grateful. Thank you to you. Thank you and your team for the opportunity to be here and to also state that my position has to be made clear and premised on my personal convictions and principles as a Christian, as a reverend minister, as a proud advocate of Jesus Christ, and also as legislator member of Parliament for Asin South constituency. It is without discrimination nor prejudice to any person or group of persons on the basis or grounds of gender, their creed, their belief, their choices, their decisions, or religion. And it is also without prejudice to the position of government, the position of Parliament, the position of any political party or religious body on the subject of homosexuality, lesbianism, and bestiality. Essentially, I'm saying that in the beginning of creation, when God created heavens and the earth, he created man and woman and put them in the Garden of Eden and mandated them to multiply and be fruitful. And in his wisdom, he created man and woman, and that has been the arrangement. So if any development under the pretext of human rights seek to infiltrate certain cultures that we as a society have made a determination and considered as unacceptable and inappropriate, wherein we have even made provisions adequate in our constitution. Article 39 of our constitution talks about the cultural objectives of Ghana, and it so enshrines and joins us as a people that the sovereign power lies in us to make a determination as to which practices, which norms and traditions we would determine as acceptable and appropriate. And homosexuality, bestiality, and
let me just interrupt you briefly, and sorry about that, by the way. Apart from religious grounds, not everybody is a Christian, by the way, but apart from religious grounds upon which you base your argument, what else will you fly? What else are you going to bring against any such let's say legislative amendment, if there should be?
My argument is principally based on the provisions of the Constitution, and the provisions of our laws. Our laws, you know, prescribe homosexuality. Our law, it sits in our laws that homosexuality, lesbianism, and bestiality are all criminal. They are a crime. So that's a baseline.
That's
our
the basis.
constitution
Okay.
also sets it right that any such acts that are inappropriate are not to be integrated into the fabric of national life. So on the grounds of the provisions of the constitution and the laws that we have, these practices are already considered as crime, and they are unlawful. The pressure that has since time immemorial been put on Ghana is to, you know, legitimize homosexuality, bestiality, and lesbianism. And these pressures had been persistent. You recall that the former President Atamils, on one occasion, had to openly state his position in the midst of the pressure. Recently, the Speaker of Parliament stated his position clearly on this subject when officials of Amnesty International paid a courtesy call on him. You know, the practice of homosexuality, lesbianism, bestiality has been happening since time immemorial, in the days of Sodom and Gomorrah.
Let me again interrupt you. What exactly are you calling on Parliament to do? And you said that the information about the intent to petition through the Canadian government has gone viral. We know that lots of things go viral, and we're not sure how authentic they are. Have you checked it for its authenticity, and have you engaged the Canadian government?
The authenticity has been checked. And,
did you engage the Canadian government?
I intend engaging them. I'm the chairman for Ghana-Canada Parliamentary Friendship Association.
Great.
Will be hosting a delegation.
So is it that they've already pushed through? They've already pushed through a certain.
No, it hasn't even got anywhere. They are now being soliciting for signatures,
okay.
And I can assure them that any group of people, these are not the only ones. These are perhaps just the bit that has found itself in the media attention.
Okay.
But there's a lot of pressures that the successive government had actually conceded to, that these are pressures that had come, and then successive government had stood firm and ensured that those pressures are resisted. And I'm calling on all parliamentarians, my colleague MPs, and I'm very confident that the position of my colleague MPs will be in defense of the laws and constitution of Ghana.
So I mean, we need to hold on for me, sir. We need to place this in a certain context that I would say it makes sense. So the Canadian government, you're yet to check
let me lay this down. Hold on, the Canadian government, but let us not deny the fact that these are pressures.
Let me land with the question.
And it makes sense.
I haven't even asked the question. I'm not saying your argument doesn't make sense either. What I'm asking is, if you have not yet engaged the because you just said that you are yet to engage the Canadian government. If you have not yet engaged the Canadian authorities, of course, their embassy here in Ghana, we're not even sure if they're going to indeed back the petition that the group of 8 that we don't yet know are going to bring to them. We don't know if they're going to forward that. Don't you think you're jumping the gun a little bit?
You are trying to veer into the involvement of Canadian government. My argument here is that there are pressures from various groups. One that has come to light is a group of 8 men who are gathering signatures in Canada, ostensibly to put pressure on Ghana to decriminalize homosexuality. And that is the scope of my argument. I do not have facts to the effect that, or evidence to the effect that these group of people have the support of any government. So we shouldn't even try to rope in the government of any jurisdiction. Let us look at the issue in context. And here, clearly, it is the group of, and the reference is specifically made to a group of 8 men who are canvassing support from signatures from people ostensibly to put, as to however they may push the agenda through and may not be able to preempt.
Okay.
But that's just a tip of the iceberg. And also to corroborate the assertions made by various senior officials that had confirmed the insistent push. Recently, the Speaker of Parliament made such an assertion that there's been insistent push on Ghana to succumb to the pressures.
Where are the pressures coming from?
Under the pretext of the sources I'm not aware of the sources.
Well, if we don't know the sources, then how do we deal with the problem?
But the fact that I am not to disclose sources, that's not, undermine the position that I stand firm. And my position here is that Ghanaians, we have a culture, we have traditions. There is no culture, there's no tribe, there is no religion in Ghana, there is no belief in Ghana in whose doctrines, you know, actually glorify homosexuality, lesbianism, and bestiality. There's no tribe in Ghana anywhere that you would go to and a man would come up with another man and go to the family this is the fellow man that I found as a wife, go and engage that marriage for me, or contract that marriage for me. A man standing up and saying that I've decided that I'm full grown and then I want to marry, excuse me to say, a dog, an animal, and so a family should bless it. It is abominable. It is not mentioned in any part of Ghana. That is who we are as a people, and that is the determination we have made that these practices are unacceptable in our society. Our laws also bar it. Our constitution also prescribes it, and every belief. There's not a single religion in Ghana that has come across.
So that point has been
so
well made.
Let us rise up. Let us rise up and create this awareness and rise up. Otherwise, you know, we might sit down unconcerned and the pressures will keep mounting, but there must be a strong resistance.
Okay, hold on for me.
So that is the angle that I'm coming from.
Very well. Well, we've been speaking to some Ghanaians about what they thought about this issue. We can hear them.
I think the petition letter for the homosexualism should be banned, not to be accepted, because the Bible discourages it. And according to law, it is discouraged in Ghana. Ghana law will not accept such a petition letter. That's all.
No, I don't think it's the right thing to do. In our part of the world, it's unacceptable, no matter what. That's why in God's creation, He created the man, and the man requested for a woman. You understand? So I don't think it's right. Women are men for men. So I don't think it's appropriate to pass that law, irrespective of what, other people are doing in some part of the world. But in our society, it's considered as a taboo.
This is right, but I don't deem it right. Personally, biblically, I don't think it's right because it's not the best. And then, as Ghanaians, it's against our moral values. All the holy books you could talk about, the Bible, the Quran, and all you have, you know, they don't agree on same-sex marriage and all that. So I don't see the reason why a law should be passed in our country. Even Africa is something that is against our culture and our custom. So I don't agree with it. I don't accept it.
To me, I don't think it's a good thing because even the Bible is against it. So I don't think they should allow it to be legalized in Ghana here.
God forbid for homosexuality in Ghana. God forbid.
Some sort of a consensus there that makes you happy, I'm sure.
It corroborates the stance that Ghana is a land that unanimously we stand for godly legislation. We want to preserve our cultural values and ensure that anything else that we accept in the name of globalization will be that which will inure to the benefits of society and the growth of society and the betterment of our youth and young ones that are coming up.
Finally, to what extent will you go to resist? If there should be any, already you've indicated that there are pressures that's coming through Parliament, whether subtle, whether upfront, we don't know. We can only know as much as you tell us at this point. But to what extent do you think you can keep resisting if any such pressure should go through?
Yeah, for now, as I said, it's just a group of people that are seeking signatures. That is what I can make reference to, and it stands as allegation. If there is any truth to it, I can assure that their exercise will be in futility. But I'm just raising awareness here.
Did you say if there's any truth to it?
Any truth to that allegation.
So do you know these people? Do you know these people? Do we know them? Do they have an identity that we can verify?
The identity are not disclosed and they are not known as of now. And so what we are saying is...
So your action is based on what's going viral on social media?
I don't know the concern. Is the concern here to actually authenticate the sources of the press?
Yes, because we need to be sure. Otherwise, no, you are a member of Parliament. Hold on, sir. Hold on for me, sir. You are a member of Parliament. If And you organized a press conference
Yes.
today. A lot of people came.
Yes.
All of us came because
Yes.
we take your words, we
Yeah.
take what you say
Yeah.
seriously,
Yeah.
which is why we came. But we can't just come and listen to you without asking questions.
Yes.
So the questions will have to come.
Yeah.
And these are legitimate questions.
Yeah.
And anything that anybody will ask you first is, who are these people?
And I've given the antecedents. And the antecedents did not, I'm not sure if your only interest is just the recent one, but I've given antecedents of occasions and pressures and insistent pushes.
That we are aware of.
So fundamentally, if we all agree that as a society, these are our values, and we also accept and recognize that there's been insistent push even in time past, and those advocacies are still relevant as we speak today, then as a people, we all must agree that we must hold ourselves in readiness and declare our stance.
Okay.
That as a people, these are our values, this is our constitution, this is what we want. So if there is any truth to any pressures coming, or there's any, recently there's a prime minister of a jurisdiction that came to Ghana and made his position clear and placed a request. Let me even put it mildly. What's a request? We all know and we all remember what happened. But in the spirit of diplomacy, it is not everything that you may want to, be disclosing. But we are saying that there is pressure for Ghana to decriminalize homosexuality, lesbianism, and bestiality, and we all as a people will have to resist any such pressures and raise our values and preserve it and ensure that wherever it's coming from, we must not get to a point of compromise.
Okay, we must not get to a point of compromise. That's a Sin South MP in Tim Fojo there, talking about certain pressures, certain hidden, subtle, affront pressures that seeking to push for legalization of homosexuality here in Ghana.